Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. I'm excited to bring to you my friend Tie Whittaker, who is a friend of mine through La Dame's de Escoffier here in North Carolina. She is the owner of Buttermilk Boutique and is a professional pastry chef for 13 years. She blends her Southern roots and culinary experience to create stunning pastries, which unfortunately I can't eat, but they look, because they're not gluten-free, but they look absolutely delicious. So hi, Ty.
Hi, and we'll talk about gluten-free. Most of the time they're not gluten-free, but I was actually trained as a gluten-free baker.
Which is true. Yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, so just before we started the show, I was asking her because she studied political science in college, and that's what I went to school for originally. And then I said, why did you get out of poli-sci, or what changed your mind? And so I need you to tell that story.
So I went to Xavier University in Cincinnati, Go Musketeers, for my undergrad degree. And actually, I've always wanted to go to culinary school. I wanted to go to culinary school after high school, but my father said chefs didn't make any money. And so he wanted me to become a lawyer. Sorry, that cord keeps falling out. But I studied political science and international affairs in undergrad because that's what my dad wanted me to do. So to deal with the stress of political science and international affairs and 21 hours a semester and all of those things, I baked my way through undergrad.
Wow, really?
I baked my way through undergrad. I did not do well on the LSAT. I could say that now because I'm successful in what I'm doing right now, but honey, test taking and all those things were so very nerve-wracking for me. So I was not a great test taker. So that LSAT kicked my butt, and I just baked my way through and cooked my way through for friends during debates and all those things. I loved political science in the sense that I liked to debate, but like when it came to test, I was not your girl. So
wow.
I did political science and international affairs, and I stuck with it because that's what my dad wanted me to do. And I wanted to make dad proud. But it was not my original plan.
Okay. And then, so when you graduated from college, how did you then become a pastry chef?
So I moved to California with a boyfriend for love instead of going into political things. And while I was there, I kind of started a little cake business to help pay for bills. So I would just do kind of cakes on the side just to practice and things like that. I found Boston University's program in gastronomy, their graduate program. And so I didn't want to go backwards to culinary school because I had already had a bachelor's degree. So I didn't want to rack this up. So I'm like, how can I go further but still get that food experience? I found the gastronomy program in Boston, which is the study of food and culture. And that was a very pivotal moment in starting my career. I love the school. We did an intense culinary program for 4 months where I was trained as a cook. I got my first bakery job down there. I did wedding cake internships. So that whole experience in Boston was really what started my culinary journey. I helped friends with their bakery in Brighton, and I worked for Glutinous Minimus, which was a gluten-free bakery in Belmont, Massachusetts. And so I was getting all these different experiences, working with Jacques Pepin, working with a lot of the local chefs in Boston that had connections with the school, working with the undergraduate food program, kind of watching their students during culinary labs and things like that. So I just kind of fully immersed myself in that experience at Boston University.
Awesome. That is so cool. I mean, and it's amazing. I mean, you and I have hung out together for a long time, but I didn't know that. So I'm excited to learn that and really introduce everybody to you, because just hanging out with you, I love doing, because you're just fun and bubbly. But there's a lot more to you.
Facts.
Yes, exactly. So, okay. So, and then when did you move down to North Carolina, and why did you do that?
So I finished school in Boston, and I stayed probably for an extra year until my father's mother, my grandmother, was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she was having a little bit of a hard time. My grandparents lived on their own, and she still does, but I came down to kind of help them out as she was recovering from a mastectomy that she had on one of her breasts. So my grandparents are old. My grandfather could only do so much. So I came down here, one, because I loved her. I called her mom, and it felt right to come down and help. So I was doing really well in Boston, but I miss family. And then especially when she got diagnosed with breast cancer, I felt the need to come down and help out. And so I moved down here for my grandmother, ended up getting my first fine pastry job in Raleigh at the Carolina Country Club, and just kind of working my way through navigating fine pastry through that and helping my grandmother out at the same time.
That's awesome. And when I met you, you were not at the country club, but you were at a retirement community. So all these elderly human beings got the deliciousness of your pastries.
Yes, and they've watched me compete on Food Network, and I just recently left I call it the 60 and up club. I left on January 1st to kind of dive into entrepreneurship full time. But I left the country club. I did a kind of a stream of restaurants and things like that. My husband and I met at the country club. And so we kind of follow each other around, right? Like I started at the restaurant, brought him on. He started at the 60 and up club, brought me on. And that was during COVID. So it was only supposed to be a temporary position, but the pastry chef that they had there was, I think, in her 70s or 80s. And so it was it was a really risky time for her. She had been the pastry chef for the past, I think the building's been open for about 22 years. So she had been the pastry chef for about the past 18, 19 years. So from when it first opened up until I came in to take her spot temporarily, just because at that time for elderly folks, it was a very risky and dangerous time, especially with COVID. So I came in just as a temporary until COVID was supposed to go away. And then she was supposed to come back, except she never came back and I stayed.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, and then kudos to you for going out 100% on your own in January.
Thank you.
Entrepreneurship is a thing. It's stressful.
Girl, it's a roller coaster, honey.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
It's a roller coaster, but it's a hard thing, financially, emotionally, physically, but it's a very rewarding thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to be able to finally put 100% of my efforts into the business that I've been wanting to put 100% in for so long.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I'm very proud of you. Okay, so today's session, we titled it "Why Black Culinary History Matters in Events: Food as a Cultural Experience." And so I really want to tie, pun intended, I guess, pull that into what you're doing because I think a lot of it came from you got some inspiration from your grandmother, Angel. She was an influence in your baker. Is that the woman that is in North Carolina? Or that's
my mother's mom. So that's my grandmother on my mother's side. Yes. Okay. So her and her mother, which is we called Big Mama. So my grandmother Angel and my Big Mama, my great grandmother Gladys, are two very influential persons for Buttermilk Boutique.
And how did they inspire you with their recipes and things in what you do now?
So right before I started grad school, I was in California, which is where my grandmother Angel was. I lived there with a boyfriend, but she didn't live too far away. So I got a chance to visit her and kind of rekindle that relationship that we had when I was much younger. Unfortunately, right before I left California, from diagnosis to death for her was 2 weeks. It was a very aggressive cancer.
Wow.
A very aggressive cancer. The month before her death, we spent a lot of time together. We spent a lot of time going to church and learning about why she was so into the word. We spent about a month baking together, and she just shared lots of things with me, talking about marriage, talking about how they used to make buttermilk from scratch. She shared a lot of recipes from her mother with me just in that month. And even though we were very hopeful that she would kind of come out of this cancer thing. I think she knew that she was going to die. And so she passed on, in that very short time that we were together, she passed on recipes and stories and a lot of things that I didn't know when I was a kid. And so when she died, I kind of found that as my chance to like, I always wanted to be a chef. So I was like, all right, I think this is a good reason to dive into it. She's left me with all these family recipes, all of these stories that we didn't necessarily know, or at least I didn't know. And it just kind of sparked something in me. So I was like, I want the rest of my life to be dedicated to her. We were supposed to start a pie company together. And so that was our initial conversation. I was learning about culinary school. She was teaching me the things that she knew. And I was kind of applying my knowledge of learning to measure and things like that. So we would bake together and I'd be like, oh, hold on, put that in the scale and let me see how much that scant amount of salt is. So that's how I converted a lot of her recipes during that time we baked together. And so I decided to dedicate the rest of my career going to grad school and starting the business to her. And originally her pies, which are not really my thing. I just wasn't really great at them, but she was magnificent. I mean, she was known for her pies in the community, right? We would bake for the sick and shut in for church and things like that. And so buttermilk pie is what started the business because that is what she was famous for. So I was like, I'm not really great at these, but I would bake buttermilk pies and bring them around and people loved them. And so that's the buttermilk part of the business, right? It was the pie. Mm-hmm. And the boutique was that I didn't want to be confined to pies, right? Like she wanted to just do pies and I just wasn't good at them. I like doing other things. And so the boutique part was I wanted it to be a from scratch bakery using my family recipes, but doing all these other things. So the banana pudding, the peach cobbler and things like that. And going to culinary school was where I got those skills and where I decided that I wanted to up the ante and make things fancier. So how could I bring all those familiar flavors, that nostalgia, while really bringing the skill and presentation to it?
That's awesome. So here's a cake that you just did, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes. For a chef friend of mine. Yes. That was for his girlfriend for her birthday.
Very pretty. And then, but one of the things that we're talking about too is what you're doing with afternoon tea. And because so you're doing all of these different pastries and these little sandwiches and things for your tea. How did you come to start doing afternoon teas? Because it really does tie into Black history, right? Yeah. Now I was going to say, because you shared you shared an article with me that talks about how Black tea houses have a deep-rooted history in the Black community, originating from the 18th century. These tea ceremonies, a tradition among slaves on their day of rest in New Orleans, evolved into a symbol of community and giving. That's awesome. I had no idea.
Yeah. So I have to be totally honest with you. The original tea idea is always something that I wanted to do, but I didn't really have the capacity to do it. There are some wonderful women down here, the Linderman family who owns the house on Barber Mill here in Clayton. They approached me because I think they're originally a wedding venue, but they also host a lot of different events. And during some of these different events, like a Mother's Day tea and all these things that they were having, they said that a lot of the women in the community were approaching them about not having a place to have afternoon tea. They're like, in order for us to have something like this, we have to go to Chapel Hill, or we have to go to Durham, or we have to go out to this hotel or that hotel. And we wish there was something closer. And so I did a lot of their dessert caterings. And so they brought the idea to me as, hey, we would like to host afternoon tea here, but we want someone of your caliber to host with us. And I was like, this is great, because afternoon tea is something that I've always wanted to do. I'll be honest, I didn't know much about it besides there's little tea sandwiches and there's tea. But I started to get into the history of afternoon tea and found out that it was a very big part of African American history starting in slavery. So these tea parties started out just as something fancy that we wanted to do for the Clayton area. And it has turned into something that we've actually become very passionate about. One, because it allows my husband and I to work together. He's a savory chef. So he kind of runs the savory part of the menu while I run the sweet. And at Black History Month, we saw as our opportunity to bring our culture in and make the tea something that is not only something that we were passionate about, but that something that we could showcase our background and pay tribute and homage to Black history. So
that's awesome.
Our very first Black History Centered Tea was held in Asheville this past weekend at Ivory Road. Shout out to Chef Jill Wasilewski, who invited us out. It just so happened to be Black History Month. And she said, I want you guys to come and do a tea. And we were like, hey, can we do it for Black History Month? Because this is something that we've always wanted to try, a menu centered around our background, our family, food history, and those memories that kind of formulated who we are today. And so we thought, awesome. How can we bring that into afternoon tea? And here we are.
Well, and you had like 50 people attending that tea, right?
So I think altogether we had 2 seatings, and altogether it was 40 people.
Okay. Awesome. And that was in Asheville, North Carolina. And you're doing one this weekend, right?
I'm doing
Chapel Hill?
This coming Saturday in Chapel Hill, the 22nd at the Root Cellar in Chapel Hill.
And who is owned by Sarah Cooney, our friend.
Sarah Cooney, she's such an awesome person.
She is this awesome person. But you're also partnering with for that tea with a couple of other Black food entrepreneurs, right?
So a couple of Black women-owned businesses. We are partnering with Blackology Coffee and Tea Company out of Raleigh. They're providing some local handmade teas for us. They're also providing some of their coffees that they've paired with our menu. So we got together, showed them our menu, and they brought some very wonderful, flavorful coffee and tea pairings that we're going to be serving at this tea in Chapel Hill, and that we also served at the tea in Asheville.
Okay, now that's really interesting to me that you can pair coffee and tea with food. So talk about a little bit about that, because you typically hear, I'm going to pair wines with food. So how is that? How do you do the coffee and the tea? I mean, I know you're the pastry side, but
no, that's all right. I mean, shout out to Lori, who is the owner at Blackology. She reached out to us. She also is a chef, and so she's got that culinary background. And so we showed her the menu, and on the menu for Saturday, we've got Big Mama's banana pudding cheesecake. We've got yellow cake with chocolate ganache. And so she took that and said, hey, here are some coffees that pair well with these flavors. This coffee is going to bring out the chocolate in your cake. This coffee is going to bring out the banana and the caramel notes in your cheesecake. And so we really leaned on her to say, hey, here is our menu. Could you give us some things that we could offer our guests that would pair well with this if they wanted to have coffee with their dessert portion? Or she has some teas that go really well with some of our savory options, like our pimento cheese sandwiches or our deviled eggs, right? So she's, hey, this is going to help that tanginess in your mustard seed on top of your deviled egg shine. So we've got, she was very instrumental in helping us make those pairings, just wine or sommelier would do for your wine food pairings.
That is so cool, because, and the fact that, well, and her chef background adds to this, saying this is going to pull out the mustard flavor and the caramel flavors and things like that. It's really so intriguing that when we don't necessarily think about food and beverage except for wine in pairing those things and those flavors, and that how that beverage can pull out the flavor in a food. Yes. Right? We really think about when you're making a pastry, how a flavor might pull something else out of that pastry, but not necessarily with the food or with the beverage. And so I think that's so cool.
Facts. And we've been really intrigued and thankful for our partners that have really helped kind of make every aspect of our tea really match together. So
Mm-hmm.
Lori giving us options to choose from with her coffee and her teas and explaining why these different coffees and teas would work well with our menu. Glenn, my husband, who really helps that savory side kind of match up with the pastry, because savory is not my strong suit, right? The pastry is. And so, and really me put those things together, and really everyone bringing in and understanding the fact that we want this to be a very nostalgic experience for folks, while also being an upscale, elevated experience at the same time. Right.
That's
So
awesome.
nostalgia, can mean old and classical, but it can also be fine dining, right? Cornbread can be elevated with tomato jam. Banana pudding can be elevated by using cheesecake as a vehicle, and then coupling that with local prosecco, or with our favorite in Asheville. We used our favorite Black actress. Her name is Issa Rae. She's got a line of prosecco out that paired really well, with some of our offerings. So just being able to kind of pull all of our favorite things in and have them match. It's been
That's so cool.
A really joyful experience.
I can imagine. I need to figure out when I can get into one of your teas, put it on my calendar so I can drive over and participate. How has you talked about your grandmother and that time you spent with her and doing that, but Black culinary in history, how has that influenced you over and above just what she taught you? Is there anybody that comes to mind that really kind of influenced you, especially in the pastry side?
So there are a lot of chefs that I look up to, but if I'm being totally honest, looking at these chefs like Carla Hall, like Chef Kwame, even folks like Julia Child, just learning about all these different chefs, I think the one thing that I took away from all of them is that they are being their authentic selves, right? Even if I look at a lot of my chef friends, look at Chef Ade Corinna. I don't know if you guys know who she is, but she's the owner of Alua Foods. She's doing a lot with her Viennese background, bringing that food and that culture to the forefront. Chef Gerald Hawkins, who's bringing his background from Norlina and influencing his food in Wilmington. Look at Chef Ricky bringing his background to Durham. I look at all of these chefs for inspiration, and I see that they're all being their authentic selves, right? They are being who they truly are, and that is being showcased in their food. And when I first started out as a chef or as a young pastry cook, I didn't know who I wanted to be, right? It was a struggle between learning French technique and not understanding where my culture fit within what I was learning. And I think just recently, over the last few years, I'm like, why don't you just be who you are, right? Be who you are. Do the things that you want to do. Be your authentic self, right? If you want to turn your grandmother's peach cobbler into a molded plated dessert, do that and show people that peach cobbler can be an elevated thing while still being a very nostalgic thing. And I think that learning to be my authentic self has been nothing but eye-opening and made me the successful chef that I am today. And I think that it's making other chefs that I'm watching and who I'm proud to call friends, they're being their authentic selves. And it's really bringing them great joy and great success in being who they are, right? And not trying to fit into a mold. I see all these people and they're doing their own thing, and you can do that and be successful. You don't have to be in this mold of a chef that I thought you would have to be in the beginning when I was learning. Right.
No, that makes complete sense. And because also being your authentic self, you're putting your heart and soul into it. And so then that to me, like we watch so many movies, even talking about that, is like when you do that, that love comes into the flavors of the food that you're making.
That And you find that
Yeah,
nobody else is like you. So there are so
right.
many diverse foods and cultures out there. And I think that's what makes culinary so great, because everybody,
Mhm.
the folks that are being their authentic selves, are really introducing things that folks might not have had before. And it's turning out to be this level of experience that people are yearning for because they've never had that before.
Right, exactly. So Charles Greer just popped in on LinkedIn and said, very uplifting. And it says it happens to him all the time. Thank you for tuning in and sharing that, Charles.
Hi, Charles.
I think I agree. And it's Ty, I mean, the stuff that I've seen you make, right? And I've watched your Instagram, and you all need to follow her on Instagram, because especially when you were, and I don't know when the last time you did one was, but you can follow her, well, buttermilkboutique.com, but that's her Instagram handle as well. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're showing the videos of you making the pastries from scratch, all of that. I mean, the hard work that you put in there and measuring it and creating it is just joyful, and watching that, and then what comes out of that is decadent.
Thank you. Yeah. And I enjoy showing people the process. One, because I'm always still learning. And so I'm trying to do something in a different way, or show people that this technique can apply to this different pastry, or, how you can take the flavors that you're familiar with and make something grand.
I'm going to share this. This is your Sunday brunch eclair video. Let's see. Look at you making those. That looks so good. That was at the 16 Up Club. Okay.
Yes. So Sunday brunch was a big thing. Like, people would bring their families. And so, yeah. So I'm like, I wonder what this would be like. They like eclairs, but, it's hard to make 400 eclairs. It's easier to make 400 pieces of cake.
Well, and then here's your key lime pie, finishing your key lime pie. So I love your videos, because I love, like I said, I love how that you show how you put it together, when you're even with your mixers and stuff, not just finishing them off, but they look so good. You're welcome. What do you think it's important? Because one of the things I like to talk about too, and we have another comment over here. Charles is like, he's going to follow you. So thank you. Please follow her. She makes some beautiful pastries. But why do you think it's important for us to incorporate culturally significant food experiences into the food and beverage that are served at events? I mean, you're doing these afternoon teas, and I think the culture significant. What do you think is the reason and the importance of doing that?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think, one, you're giving folks, and I'll take the African American experience, because obviously that's what I'm closest to. But I'll take the African American experience and say that, one, it gives my people a chance to experience those flavors that they are familiar with, but hopefully in a different way, or giving them and showing that experience can be upscale. And then I think, two, it gives folks who are not necessarily African American a chance to experience something that they might not have experienced before. Mm-hmm. And three, I would say that it gives my husband and I a chance to think of ways to bring the food from our background into the culinary light. It gives us the challenge of figuring out how to elevate these sorts of flavors while still being nostalgic. But I think it gives a chance to give an experience all around for the folks who are like us, and for the folks who aren't.
Right.
I also think it gives us a chance to show the appreciation for that culture, right? To show folks that, like, you are just as important as this culture or that culture. Like, culture is important. We see you. We want you to feel included. We want you to feel seen, and we want you to have a safe space to say that you can enjoy these things as well, and that you're appreciated here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, because it's not just like throwing the standard buffet of, here's your Mexican buffet, right, today, and here's your Southern fried chicken buffet. I think elevating that food and beverage experience to even like activations and kind of what you're doing with the afternoon teas, bringing those stories to life versus just like throwing everything out on a chafing dish and walk through this buffet. right?
Sure. Or giving people the sense that your Southern doesn't always have to mean just fried chicken or mac and cheese or collard greens. It can mean a deviled egg that has all those components that takes your mind on a journey back to that. But it's not just confined to this, right? We can still have these flavors in a brand new, exciting way.
Right. What's a flavor that you love to work with and to bring out and to showcase that you think is truly Southern or truly from your grandma, from your pastry history with your grandmother?
I think the two biggest things that have been very near and dear to my heart are peach cobbler and banana pudding. I think the way my grandmother made it, making the pudding from scratch, I think adding that banana pudding vehicle.
Wait a minute, doesn't come out of a box?
No,
The pudding?
no.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
Grandma made it from scratch. Yes. So we make it from scratch. And I think when people experience our banana pudding, even just in banana pudding form, they're really intrigued by it. They love it. People have said, hey, I don't even eat banana pudding and I love this. Or I've had people say, we put it on cheesecake and they were like, I don't like cheesecake and I don't like banana pudding, but I like this. So it's been fun, like using that banana pudding as a vehicle for other pastries and fillings. Like I've put it in croissants. I've put it in eclairs and people are like, wow, this is a wonderful thing. I think the same thing with peach cobbler. I made a molded peach cobbler dessert the first time I competed on NCRLA. And I just titled it Peach Cobbler. And Heidi tells everyone this story. I saw peach cobbler on her list and I was like, oh, this is cute. She's going to bring us a peach cobbler. And when she saw that molded dessert and they cracked open the peach and the filling came out and the peach filling came out and they were like, okay, this is a thing.
Yeah.
And so that has been my thing. Like, showing people that something familiar like this can be something elevated. And so those have been my two favorite, like, kind of show-stopping things to play with.
All right, Charles, and that just sounds so good. Charles just said banana pudding was his first dish he used to make as 8 years old. Charles, did you make it from scratch or did you make it out of the box? Because I'm going to say I made mine out of the box, not from scratch. But I don't remember my grandmother making any kind of pudding from scratch. But who knows, right? She may have. Yeah.
I mean, my great grandmother would shake, like she would sit, my grandmother would tell her, like, she would sit and talk to her and she would be shaking the bottle of milk to make the buttermilk, to separate the buttermilk from the butter. So they would sit there, have a conversation, and she'd be shaking the buttermilk. So, like, she did a lot of things from scratch. And, like, my grandmother just soaked that up. And I was privy to that before she died.
That's so awesome.
It's wonderful to see. And my girls talk about making things from scratch. So I'm passing that down. And so that's one of my things, like making things from scratch, even though it could be harder or more time consuming. It's more rewarding, I think, for me.
Right. Yeah. And Charles is right. Oh, no, not at all. And Charles did say it was out of the box at that time. Yes. Mine too. So as a Black woman in pastry, and we both, I mean, I know Carla Hall. She spoke at La Dame's conference this past fall, and just like mind-boggling. Yeah.
Yes.
Right, exactly. And then watching her I have a video of her putting her top together. It was mind-boggling. But so as a Black woman in pastry, what challenge have you faced? Any challenges in the industry, or have you? Yeah. Okay.
Every day is a challenge. But I mean, pastry, if we're being honest, is like a very white male dominated industry still.
Really?
Right. So yeah, when I first got into pastry, like the head pastry chef at Carolina Country Club was an older white man. A lot of the higher up chefs were older white men. I think the culinary world is very much still very white male dominated, but especially pastry. I mean, think of Kings of Pastry. Like, that's a culinary competition out of France. Like, it's very white male dominated. So getting into it was very intimidating, right? Because it's like, one, you're a woman, right? So that's already strike one. And then two, you're a Black woman, that's strike two. And so sometimes it was very frustrating. I think I'm coping with it now, but that first job was very hard. Like the chef was very harsh. Like his words were very harsh. The way he treated us was very harsh. The way he treated me was very harsh, right? Versus the white male assistant he had. I've been skipped over before. I've trained people that have been put in positions over me.
Wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult thing. And I think it still is, right? I feel like this is the story of a lot of Black women, a lot of Black chefs, especially like you have to work 10 times harder to prove that you deserve to be where you are. You deserve to do what you're doing. You deserve the awards that you're winning. You deserve to be called chef even, right? Like just to be called chef, right? Like I've just so many negative experiences with that. And I think as a chef, as a younger chef, first starting out, like you look for that acceptance. You look for that to be a part of that group. And for a long time, like it was hard coming to the realization that that wasn't the group for me. Right? Like, even though these are the people that were leading in this group, like that wasn't the group for me. And so I think Buttermilk Boutique became even that much more important to me because it was a lane that I was carving for myself, right? Because if I didn't carve this lane for myself, I would still be clamoring for that acceptance, clamoring for that, for chef to tell me I was doing a good job, right? Like those compliments came few and far between, but like when you got them, it was like, dang, like I had to work that hard for that. I trained that girl that you said did a good job the other day. Like, why can't I have that too? I taught her how to do that. I taught him how to do that. I taught them how to do that. And it's like, I was always the last choice, even though I think in my opinion, I was the best choice, right? Like, I trained those people. So I always felt like the last choice. And in Buttermilk Boutique, what I say goes. I am the first choice.
Right.
And I think it's important, right? Like I love the chefs that are working under other chefs that feel appreciated and that feel a part of the team. Just a lot of times I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel accepted like that. I didn't feel appreciated in that way. I think my husband can say the same thing. He didn't feel appreciated or accepted in that way. And so that's why we go so hard for Buttermilk Boutique, because it's our passion. We deserve what we're doing. We're good at what we do. We're some of the best at what we do. And if we have to give that accolade to ourselves, we will.
Right. No. I will give you that accolade too. And Charles is bravo.
Thank you, Charles.
Bravo. And he's listening to us from Barcelona, Spain. So thank you for tuning in. Yeah. Thank you for that, Ty. I mean, that's heart-wrenching. And I'm so proud of you for stepping out into Buttermilk Boutique and doing it full time as of January 1st and making that name for yourself even more than the one that you had, right? And then being able to bring these stories to life with both your pastries and the savory side of cooking. So thank you. Doing this now, what advice do you have for chefs and entrepreneurs looking to bring more cultural authenticity into their work, especially in this pastry? Well, not even just in general, but, also for those bakers out there, those pastry chefs, those young women and men that want to do what you're doing. What advice do you have?
I think the first thing I would say is don't be silent, right? I spent a lot of my career just doing what I was told because I felt like it was the right thing to do, right? And there's a time and place for everything, right? There is a hierarchy in the kitchen, but I think do what you have to do to have a voice, right? Because your opinion matters, your culture matters, the ideas that you have are good ideas, right? Don't let anybody tell you that what the ideas that you have aren't good. Because I had a lot of people say, that might be too hard, or I don't know how that'll go over with people. I don't care. I tell everybody that a lot of the pastries that I've put out have come to me in a dream. And I'll even wake up, that sounds crazy, but I'm going to try it, right? I'm going to try it. And the things that I have tried have not failed. Have that confidence in yourself. Don't be afraid to take up space. I feel like a lot of times, like, it can be very intimidating, especially the culinary world, because a lot of Black and brown chefs don't have the resources that other chefs have, don't have the support that other chefs have, don't get the recognition that other chefs get. Right now, it's just my husband and I. And I think we have a very small tribe, but even without that tribe, like, all we have is each other. And like, we make it happen. And so it's okay. Do it scared. Do it by yourself. Do it late at night. Like, just do the thing that you think about, because if you don't, that feeling will haunt you forever. I think I've thought about stepping away from Buttermilk Boutique so many times because of how hard it is, because of how much it's taken a financial toll on my family. But I think sticking with it has been more rewarding. I think doing those things that I dream about, no matter how hard it is, has been more rewarding than all of the accolades, all of the winning competitions. Like, the fact that I've done things that somebody told me I couldn't do, or even the things that I thought I couldn't do, and I just push myself to do it, have been so rewarding. So do the thing. Do the thing. I'm scared to death. I walk out on faith every single day I wake up, right? Like, I don't know how this thing is going to go, but I do it and I see it through, and I have not failed yet. God hasn't failed me yet, right? So do it. Do the thing. Take up the space. Say the thing that you're thinking about. I think you miss, what is it? You miss 99% of the shots you don't take, right? Take the shot. You know, it's not going to kill you. If it doesn't work out, there's always something else. And I've taken that into account every day, going into these teas, and we're putting out that menu that was very African-American forward, right? Very, very Black, as I would say. And people received it and they loved it. And that's the validation, right? Like, the validation that you need is your own. Don't worry about what everybody else thinks. The people who want to love you will come.
Right.
And the people that don't will stay away. And that's fine.
Right. Well, it's funny. I loved everything you just said. And I loved the very, very end, because the other day I was in Starbucks and I was reworking some wording for myself for what I do in doing culinary audits for food inclusion and things like that. And I was going to take out some words about belonging and inclusion and diversity. And Nicole from the Starbucks in New Bern, she's, Tracy, that's what you do. She says, don't take that away from you, from yourself. If the people don't like what you're saying, then they're not your clients, right? And do exactly who you are and be who you are and put that out there, and that's who will come to you. And so you just said that exact same thing. And so thank you. I mean, I needed to hear it. You need to hear it yourself. Other people need to hear it as well. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially now.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Your values and your morals, especially now in this heated climate, are what you have left. Stick to them. And the people that align with that will come to you, and they will support you no matter what, no matter what's going on, no matter how bleak it might look, no matter the time, no matter the day. If someone else's values align with what you're doing, they will come, they will support you. And those are the clients that you want anyway.
Right. Exactly. And maybe they'll eat one of your delicious pastries and realize that they can change, right? Or something is not necessarily has to be this way, right?
Right. And ask the question. You said you can't indulge because I don't do gluten-free. I do gluten-free, but I have to know that you're gluten-free, and I will do what I have to do to make it gluten-free for you. We had one person at the last tea, and they had a whole tray of gluten-free delights for themselves.
Really? That's awesome.
Really? I tried my best to do every single thing that was not gluten-free to make it gluten-free for that person.
Awesome.
So don't be afraid. Ask the question. If I can't do it, I'll let you know.
Right.
But I will definitely try. So gluten-free is our thing. Don't be afraid of that. I'm well versed in that. I was trained in gluten-free. Now, vegan, y'all gonna have to work with me. I'm trying. Okay. Y'all gonna have to work with me. I'm not there yet. But I am.
With the price of eggs, you might need to be.
Right. I'm not good at it yet. But yes, with the price of eggs, we're gonna experiment because it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Well, and we went out last night for my parents' 59th wedding anniversary, which is today. And we went to a restaurant called Caribsea down at Moorhead.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, Emerald Isle. Sorry, Emerald Isle. And they do a gluten-free crab cake. And I mean, I couldn't take a picture to make it look really what it was. But I mean, it's lump crab meat. And I asked him at the end, I'm like, what did you use? And he's glutino crackers, which is like what is the white cracker? Not
a saltine.
But like a saltine, right? But it's glutino, so it's free of gluten, gluten ones. And it is to die for, that crab cake. It is so good. But we want to make sure that everybody's got something here to eat. Yeah. And so, thank you. Yeah. Oh, so what am I doing on Saturday? Do you have any seats left on Saturday?
We have some seats left on Saturday. Come see us. I've got.
Okay. All right. I might do that. Okay. Yay. Okay. Is there anything else that I'm going to now put here's Tie's Instagram, and is it Facebook as well?
Oh, it's at Buttermilk _boutique for Instagram.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's okay. At Buttermilk _boutique for Instagram, at Buttermilk Pastries for Facebook. Yep, perfect.
Okay.
That's our Instagram, and at Buttermilk Pastries for Facebook. And we try and just make sure everything that we post on Instagram carries over to our Facebook page.
Right. It's a lot easier to do it that way.
Yeah. Buttermilkboutique.com is our website.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. And tickets are still on sale for Saturday.
In Chapel Hill. Okay. Awesome. Root Cellar Cafe.
Yeah.
The Root Cellar Cafe. Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, is there anything that Charles just said, already added on Instagram? You got a new follower. Yay!
Thank you.
Is there anything to close out this conversation? I mean, we didn't talk a whole lot, totally focused on Black history, but I think we did. But is there anything else that you want people to take away in understanding what Black history in pastry and cooking, Black cooking means to you and what you're doing and going forward?
Yeah, I think Black history, especially in food, and the biggest thing that I take is that most of my memories as a kid and from back in the day are via food. So a lot of my relationships centered around food, like my relationship with my grandmother, we were really close because of our love of baking and because our love of God. A lot of my friends, right? I went to grad school with our main connection was food. I think the one thing that I would want people to take away is indulge in your history, do the research, find out what it's about. What are those things that are nostalgic to you, especially for chefs? What are those things that are nostalgic to you? Because more than likely they're nostalgic to someone else, right? To a lot of other people. Lean into that, especially if you're wanting to represent your culture. No matter how you were trained, right? Like, I feel like a lot of folks that go to culinary school are trained French, right? You can flip that and you can apply those same techniques to your cultural food background. So pull from those memories. I can't tell you how many times like people have come up to me and say, my grandmother used to make a cornbread and that reminded me of that, or that banana pudding reminded me of this, or that cake reminded me of that. So it can be in any form, right? Pull from those memories and pull from that flavor profile that you loved, because somebody else is going to love it. And you're going to introduce something to someone that either brings up a good memory from their past or that creates a new one.
That's awesome. Oh, thank you so much. I needed you today.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you too. And let's see. Here's Ty's Instagram handle, and check her out. Please follow her. Please buy her pastries. Are you shipping yet?
So we ship our peanut brittle, but our cheesecakes have gained some notoriety, and we're trying to figure out how to get those out to the rest of the world.
Okay. And you and Rhonda need to hook up to talk about shipping stuff.
Yes, I love Rhonda.
Yes, she's another La Dame pastry person in North Carolina.
Her rum cakes and her lemon curd are to die for.
Yeah. Right. Okay. You are a doll. Thank you so much. Everyone, this is Tie Whittaker, Buttermilk Boutique out of North Carolina. Please look her up. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about the value of knowing the cultural history about food and beverage. So thank you.
Thank you for giving me space to share. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Next week, I will be here with Deborah Van Treese. Did I say that right? Yep, from Atlanta, talking about soul food. And then in March, it is Women's History Month. So I will be featuring a variety of women who are making history with the food and beverage that they're making or supporting. So stay tuned for that. And if you need any help in creating inclusive environments, give me a shout. That's what I focus on. I'll talk to you soon, everybody. Until then, stay safe and eat well. Thanks, Ty.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.